your journey into theatre has taken you through many different spaces and roles. Can you map out the path that led you to becoming a playwright and what moments you'd highlight as turning points?
I always slightly pushed against it when I was young, partly because my mother's an actor, so I was always like, well, that's what mum does. You know, I want to find my own thing to do. And if I'm completely honest, I did a school play and there was a girl who I really liked and she just ignored me. She just wanted nothing to do with me. And then I got up on the stage and I made some people laugh. And I remember she was sitting in the front row. She was really laughing and I was making the whole school laugh. Afterwards, we got to hold hands, let's say. I was like, okay, there's power in this. I thought, well, actually, I want to be a professional athlete. I was really obsessed with playing basketball. And then I realized I didn't have that kind of talent. Almost, there was something very hot inside me that I wanted to just get out of me out into the world. So I went to drama school when I was 20, 21, and that was cool. It was good and bad. And then I came out and I was doing a lot of stuff where I was playing policemen, and I was doing a lot of stuff where I was playing sort of bouncers and robbers, and it was all quite limited, not very interesting scripts. I just got this idea that I wanted to write, and I was aware that there was a lot of my friends weren't getting the parts that I thought they deserved, that there wasn't much of an exploration of the neighborhood that I grew up in, which I always found very naturally dramatic. And I thought, well, I want to write about that. And so I wrote my first play. Really, when I started writing, because I was broke, I was like, I want this to be something that I can give to an actor, regardless of whether I've got a budget or not, and for them to read it and go, I really want to do this, I really like this. And my whole thing was like, make this a challenge for the actors, make this something actors are going to be excited to do. I wouldn't advise any writer to start thinking about, well, make it cheap. That's your producer's problem. If you write a play with 50 characters, write your play with 50 characters, but it's possible that you get 2 actors to play all 50, right? That's down the line. You've just got to go, I was talking with Liam just before about, writing always felt like I was daydreaming. It just felt like I was dreaming. What if I won the lottery? I wonder what it's like to be on Mars. And then observation as well, looking at people in the neighborhood and thinking, what's her story? Do you know what I mean? What's she got going on? What's her inner life like? So that was the basis for the writing. I wrote a couple of plays and then I was in a few plays. Actors would almost naturally, there's a kind of protocol when you're acting in a play, which is that you don't really give each other notes as actors, right? We just do our thing. And if you've got an opinion about that, you just keep it to yourself. But I found that actors were coming to me and they were saying, what do you think of that speech? What do you think this scene's about? And I realized that I could maybe help these actors. So that's how I got into directing. And yeah, it's 30 years later, I'm still hanging in, but I'm a lifer, really.
You have a long-standing link to the arts. How has artwork, family, and your community shaped who you are as a writer and an artist today?
Well, I grew up with, my mother was an actor, and again, we had some really quite tough times when I was young. Mum wasn't working a lot, she was auditioning a lot and not getting staff. And so things were difficult at times. So I grew up with that, but then also I would get a part and I'd come and see it and I'd sit in the dressing room and I was just like, this feels like real fun and this feels like freedom. And Mum would ask me to help her learn her lines, so I was reading plays at quite an early age. And when you look at the world as an artist, everything becomes a story, everything becomes drama, everything becomes a mystery, everything becomes play. I grew up in a quite poor neighborhood, quite a tough neighborhood in South Camden. And there was always, I used to look out the window as a kid, and there was always drama. There were always people shouting at each other. There was always people threatening each other. And I'd always be like, what's going on here? And my friends from that neighborhood didn't do well at school. They weren't particularly good on a written page, but if you were just hanging out with them, they were very verbally intelligent, they were very quick, and they were incredibly funny. And so I was always like, well, why am I not seeing these people on the stage? And when I do see them on the stage or see them on TV, they're always presented as a problem. They're always presented as something to be feared, if you like. And so I was like, I want to dig underneath that. I'm definitely not a tough guy in any way. Mum's an actor, my dad works in theatre as well, so I was always a bit arty. I had to somehow make the tough guys like me. And so I saw a little bit of that, nothing too scary, and I was always interested in that. I always loved gangster films, Godfather, Goodfellas, all those films where I found them very exciting. So I was always trying to weave a little bit of the thriller element into the plays. But I think really the plays are about love and family, and you're talking about community. They're about, I think what is a community is the family that you choose. And sometimes we can't choose. If we're growing up on a block, we have to somehow make it work with the people that are around us. But I think that's been the guiding force of my work, certainly as a writer. And as an actor, I go where the money is. You know, I'll play anything.
You trained at Webber Douglas. What did your time there give you in terms of craft, peers, and your own voice? And how do you feel that the training informs your work now?
It was very interesting. Webber was a mixed bag, not gonna lie. And I feel bad because some of those teachers have passed on now, so I don't want to speak ill of the dead. But it was a very different time when I trained, and they were from a different time. My time at Webber was literally the only time I've ever been in an all-white group in my life. Every school I went to, we were always very mixed. Camden has, I think Carla said this, I think there's 150 languages spoken in Camden. It is so diverse. And so that was a big shock. I remember on my first week there, one guy said to me, he was quite an upper class kid. He said, the thing about the poor is they actually secretly enjoy being poor, otherwise they wouldn't be poor. And so it was kind of difficult for me to be in that space. I felt a tremendous loyalty to South Camden, I felt tremendous loyalty to the people I've grown up with in Kentish Town and Archway and all of that. And I was like, I'm just not gonna let you speak about my friends like that. My family originally from the east end of London, the Cockney family. Like I say, I don't want to misrepresent myself because my mother's an actor, which means that everything is slightly out of move. You know, I always had a sense of fitting into two worlds because I've kind of grown up in the theatre. Webber was challenging in that regard. Met some amazing people who are still my friends now. Are you finding this as weird as I am? I'm still friends with those people today, and I still work with those people today. I think to give Webber its credit, quite honestly, the biggest thing I learned from Webber Douglas was not to be late. Just battered it into you that you had to be on time. And that has really stayed with me. And I think that that is actually deceptively simple, because if I'm playing a character, I might say the line, but if my body is late, if my spirit is late, the line's just gonna come out flat. Really good acting means you're absolutely on time. You're on the beat of the scene. That moment is exactly where you and the character have arrived at together. So I think the question around punctuality is really interesting. Exposure to amazing writing. We did a lot of Shakespeare. They beat us with Shakespeare. And I'm grateful to that because I really love Shakespeare. And we looked at Euripides, who I didn't really know, was a Greek writer from Western dramatic literature. I really found that exciting. Looked at Anton Chekhov, the Russian master. So cracked open a world that I hadn't really known. You know, also, it's one thing to read a play, but it's another thing to actually be in a scene and go, oh my God, I see how this guy's done this. I think it was just tough. They were really tough. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with holding young people to high standards, saying this is what we expect from you. I always say to my students when I'm doing sort of more community work, I'm not going to lower my expectations just because we're not at RADA, which is the other place where I teach. Toughness has stayed with me.
Being so long has been a major touchstone. How did that project come about? What were the core themes you wanted to explore? And how did the process of writing for stage shape the piece?
So Been So Long was my first play. The big moment for me was realizing that there was a bar at the end of my road. It doesn't exist anymore, it's gone. It was called the Bar Arizona. And it was this kind of burnt orange, quite low ceiling, really good DJs. And I used to sit in there and I just suddenly realized you can set a play here. I don't have to imagine it about, I don't have to imagine I'm in the House of Commons. I don't have to imagine I'm in some country estate. I'm writing about the people in this bar. And it was when I was like, yeah. The guesswork, I would see, it was a bit of a kind of thing going on in there. People would kind of approaches to each other. And I would see people walk across the bar and slightly kind of peacock themselves out to make this approach. And I was like, that's kind of really brave to go up to someone. And so I wanted to write about that. And I also wanted to celebrate the complexity of things. I think Vincent Long is about people present themselves as one thing, and then we realize that they're actually the complete opposite. And I think that's very true of pretty much every human being in the world. We're all dualities, right? No one is gentle all the time. No one is rough all the time. No one is angry all the time. No one is happy or sad all the time. And I was very grateful to the Royal Court who picked it up and really helped me refine it. There's more from these characters. And also there was a kind of new generation coming up of younger people. And I think this place still has something to say and still has a life. So I was really lucky. I was teaching at RADA and I met Arthur Darvill, who is a brilliant actor, but also an amazing musician. And so we started working on a piece, and then it was presented as a musical at the Young Vic Theatre, which was a great experience. And I picked up at Green Acre Films, Nadine Marsh Edwards, the Queen of Camden. She picked it up, and then we began to change it into a movie. And the movie was very difficult to do because the play is set in one room. It's just this very kind of sealed off world with just 5 people in it, which lends the piece its intensity when it's on stage. Kind of adding other characters, adding scenes, kind of changing stuff. It was tricky, and it took 8 years. It took 8 years to get that movie out.
Collage voices is a term that's come up in discussions of your work. Could you explain what collage voices mean to you, your role within it, and the impact you've seen on participants and communities?
Yeah, I'm really proud to be a part of the Collage Voices program, the project set up by an amazing man called Stephen Midland. And we do classes at weekends. Classes are £2.50, but also if you need a scholarship, then there are scholarships available, full scholarships, you get your class for free. And empowering young people from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Maybe we can operate as a bridge between school and getting into a full-time training, which some of the young people want to do. They want to use their time in the class to successfully audition and apply for a mainstream 3-year course. And then we have a lot of young people who are like, well, I just can't do 3 years. It's feasible for my circumstances and my situation. And so then you're just going to try and give them the skills to work professionally. And we have some people who are just there because they want to get a bit more confident, or they just want to meet people, or they're just interested. They don't want to actually do it for their lives, but they just like doing it on a Saturday. And so we blend all that together. It's incredibly inclusive. The first week I taught there, I think we had about 2 or 3 students, and the boiler was broken as well in the building. It was freezing. So we literally had to do class in our winter coats with our hats and scarves on, and I did a kind of we ran around a lot in that class, and it's grown now. In September I get about 30, and then it kind of whittles down to about 20 students. We've got kids into RADA, Central, East 15, Rose Bruford, University. Just got a brilliant young actor to Juilliard. Also some of our students are working, but I don't think in a way that's the point. I think the is what it does to the person. And what I really resonate and get excited by. It's Collage Voices on a Saturday. I can't wait to teach there.
The front line is another facet of your career. What drew you to that project? What were you hoping to achieve? And what outcomes or stories from it stay with you?
I grew up in Camden, as I said, and I think a lot of people come to visit Camden because it's got a great nightlife, it's got live music and clubs and interesting bars and stuff. And I live in a much more sedate part of Camden, a quieter part, a little bit off that main patch. But I went to visit some friends and hang out in Camden, and I was waiting for a night bus, and just this mad swirl of humanity. There were guys who were dealing, there were evangelicals who were trying to sort of bring people to the Lord, there were drag queens, there were homeless people, there were people just stumbling out of the clubs, and I just was like, this is really exciting. I kind of want to put this on stage. I was very lucky to meet Dominic Drumgoole, who was the artistic director of the Globe at the time. And he said to me that he wanted a contemporary set play. Never been done at the Globe before, so I started writing it. I was actually in Othello at the time at Shakespeare's Globe. So I was kind of in the building and on stage there, getting the feeling for what the amazing dynamic that you have with the audience. So I wrote the play. It had a cast of 24, Because that they'd never done a play that was set now, but there was a lot of interest around it. There was some resistance to it as well. An extraordinary experience. There's the beginning of the play, everyone is on and they're all talking at once, which just seems like chaos, but actually was quite finely calibrated, brilliantly directed by Matthew Dunster. It was just magical to be in that space, and to those characters up there. The beginning is called The Desperate Invisibles. Invisible, they're invisible, but you still don't hear us though. And it was very, very invigorating to just put those lives up there and say, these are the people that you are ignoring, that you are stepping past. Drug problems, no getting away from that. It's a big drug market. So a lot of it was about addiction. A lot of it was about who gets to say they're from London. And it's interesting because we had this horrible kind of real deeply racist character who comes on. And I remember people saying, yeah, but these guys don't exist anymore. And I was like, I'm here to tell you, mate, you still get these guys. And it's interesting the times we're in now, 2025, that unfortunately these guys are having their moment, stomping around the place, creating trouble for people. The press night of the Frontline, it started raining at about 4, heavy, hard sheets of rain. And I thought, this isn't going to stop. And it just got heavier and heavier. Our show started at 7 or 7:30. I remember just going in the disabled loo at the Globe and just like crying, like my play's going to be washed away. They won't be able to see it, And I just remember the cast just came out, they got soaked, the audience got soaked, but they just put it over the rain. It was like the storm, they were just like, nah, I'm gonna beat this storm. And they just put the player out above the rain into the sky. And it was really a passionate experience. And I remember at the end of that, just trying to get to the bar, and the buzz in the bar, people were like, oh, I didn't know you could do stuff like this at the Globe. Really magical. And I stayed up all night, and I remember the sun coming up in the morning, the storm just clearing, this beautiful sunny day. And I was sitting in the park, a little bit, a couple of drinks, but just was so electrified by the experience of it. It's great.
You've spoken about experiences working at the Globe. What stands out from that period? And how did you meet Quince Garcia? What did that encounter spark for you creatively?
It's so rowdy and it's so democratic, and people pay £5 to stand and watch. So that does a couple of things. One is that they're, paradoxically, even though it's massive, they're so close to you that they are very intimate, and they'll make noise and they'll leave. If they don't like it, they're like, well, I paid a £5. I'm gonna go stroll around. So you have to really batter it. Like, I remember when we did Othello in 2007. Afternoons when you're gonna do a matinee, you're a bit sleepy, you're like, oh man, I've gotta do this show, man. And then you come out and there's 700 people standing, severe heat wave. And they're like, no, I'm standing, I wanna see this show. And you're like, well, if you're gonna stand out there in this sunlight, or you can stand out there in this rain, I'm gonna give you everything I've got. There's a kind of embrace to the Globe, the way that it's structured, kind of pretension you might have about verse speaking, Shakespeare and all that. You have to just deliver it and get it out. And wonderful place to work. It's really, really. And your second part of the question, how did I meet Quince Garcia? I think Quince is very dynamic. His extraordinary, his care for young people, his conscience, empowering young people, and I think that youth in our city can absorb a lot of negative ideas about themselves that we can sort of get, or society, I guess, can tell us all sorts of things about ourselves. Bad things. And what can happen after a while is we internalize that voice. We internalize our own oppression in some way. So we start to think we're less than we are, or we're less than we could be. And I think that Quince, in a way, operates as a kind of battering ram. He kind of is through that. He won't have it. He won't have young people feeling that way about themselves. And he wants them to... He understands the power of creativity. The simple act of being creative. Whether you're making a film, whether you're painting, whether you're doing a rap, or writing a short story, or making a beat, or learning an instrument. It doesn't have to be on the TV. It's just good for you to do. It just releases something in you. It unlocks something in you. And it's good for your self-worth. And Quince feels like an unstoppable force. I think he's very talented. I was really interested in the way that we worked on Edward's bike. Let's see what the guy does next.
Roadwork Media has been part of conversations about your work and collaborations. What are your thoughts on their approach and impact within the industry, and how do you see their role evolving?
Empower young people and I'm never crazy about when people say give people a voice, because people's got voices, but they're trying to amplify voices and they're trying to nurture and develop voices that we need to hear from. And I think that some of the artwork that I've seen, I thought Abel's Blight was just full of love and wit, very optimistic, unstoppably optimistic of how they are taking young people who are perhaps at a crossroads, youth at risk, that perhaps at a crossroads could go down a path that's not so healthy for them, gently getting nudged onto the more positive path, just that they continue to grow. All the young people that have passed through it and have been helped by it and have produced such vivid and vital work, I'd like to see them become a family and become a community and keep the place growing, make it grow together.
For creatives who feel the industry isn't for them, what would you say is the most important mindset shift or practical step to take? Are there strategies or routines that helped you persevere?
I think you find your people in this business. You find the people you want to collaborate with who are on a kind of wavelength with you. Find your gang because they will support you when things are tough. There's no question about it. It's a cold world, man. Feeling like you can't get into the industry or that the industry is shutting its doors on you. I do think that's the one thing about the technology at the moment. Phones with cameras, just get that equipment and shoot something and do it all the time. I was really inspired. I was living in America for about 4 years actually, and the young people I was working with there, they just were unstoppable. They would write stuff, they would improvise stuff, they were always creating. A lot of the time it's not about the thing you're working on at the moment. You can be working on a piece, maybe it's great, maybe it's not great, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but that piece gets you to your next piece, it gets you to the next story that you want to tell. It's all story. And having an understanding that success is waking up and being alive, and success is doing it. Whether you're doing it and there's 3 people watching you, whether you're doing it and you just jam it up on YouTube and you get some views, or whether you're doing it at the National Theatre or for Netflix or whatever, all of those are successful. All of those are part of the journey. You're part of the culture. And also having a sense that your imagination is needed. We need it. It is necessary. If it's real and if you're being truthful and it's being original, then find its way through the cracks. And I know the business can be extremely daunting. Stick with it. You asked me about my mother. My mother got her break when she was 46. She'd been acting for 26 years. You know, parent of 2 kids. She just wouldn't quit. She found a way of just hanging in. I think stubbornness is really underrated. I think we all have this sense, and sometimes it's kind of perpetuated media nonsense, where we think, oh my God, that person's just kind of so young and they've arrived. It's more than likely that that person has been knocked back and finally found a way to crack through. That's the experience I had, it's an experience that I watched my mother have. That's also part of it. You don't want it to be too easy. You don't want it to be cheap. You want to pay, because that is how you develop. It's how you develop artistically, it's how you develop professionally, it's how you develop emotionally, and it's how you develop spiritually.
You mentioned that your mother was an actor. How did that influence your understanding of performance, opportunities, and the pressures or freedoms of a life in the arts? Are there specific memories or lessons you carry with you?
Seeing her struggle, seeing her being knocked back quite a lot, seeing her just, trying to keep the family going was obviously influential and educational. But then also the way she attacks the part, the way she doesn't quit until she's turned the scene over and over and over and over and over, the high standards she sets for herself, the fact that she brings such ferocity to everything she does, obviously a massive privilege to be able to come to my mom and say, I'm struggling with this work that I'm doing at college, could we just go over this scene and we're talking about it. And also the again, community that she was a part of, you know, the working class actors, black actors, they were all trying to find a way of sticking together and getting through the business and getting to be heard and creating her own work, which she did a lot of. All of that was a massive influence on me.
Squash the beef.